Coming up on Locked On Dodgers, the Dodgers win their ninth game in a row. Julio Diaz once again is dominated. Is he now the Dodgers ace? And Max Muncie is looking like Max Muncie of old. That's what's on tap, so make sure to keep it Locked On Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, Dodger fans. Welcome to Locked On Dodgers. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one local sports daily podcast network. Locked On, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Blue Nile. Make your moment sparkle with BlueNile.com. And going on now is the Blue Nile anniversary sale. Save up to 40% on classic fine jewelry and 25% on engagement ring settings. Shop stress-free and find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today. We are Locked On Dodgers, and you can find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube simply by searching for Locked On Dodgers. And hit subscribe in all those places and never miss a day because you know we're not going to. Just make it easy on yourself. If there's your first time listening or watching, I'm Vince Samperio. I'm usually joined by a co-host, Jeff Snider, although he will not be in joining us for today's episode, so I am rolling solo dolo. But we are both lifelong Dodger fans that have spent some time covering the Dodgers in a variety of ways, continue to cover the Dodgers in a variety of ways. One of those ways being this podcast where we can come here every Monday through Friday for around 30 minutes and talk about the Dodgers. So that's what we're going to do today, or that's what I'm going to do today. Talk about the Dodgers. And the Dodgers won again, ninth straight win, complete domination of the Twins. It was never really a game after the first few innings, and the Dodgers offense ended up continuing to add runs as the game went on. If there was one thing they maybe have struggled with in the last few weeks is tacking on runs after they get a lead, and they did that last night. So that was fun to watch. They've won their season high ninth consecutive game. They're still 16 games ahead of the Padres, who beat the Giants after on a walk-off by Manny Machado after Josh Hader blew the save. Josh Hader against the Giants this season has allowed 9 runs in 3 games, and against everyone else, Josh Hader's allowed 10 runs in 37 games. So something about the Giants that he can't quite handle. But the Dodgers have won 31 of their last 36 games, an 861 clip since June 29th. That's pretty wild. They hit 8 doubles last night, and that tied a season high and a major league season high. So, yeah, it was a fun game. Let's start with Julio Diaz, who went 7 innings, gave up 1 run, 5 hits, striking out 8, no walks. That's continued a trend for him. Well, he's been good for the last few seasons, but continues a really hot streak for him over here in the second half of the season after being snubbed from the All-Star team. Maybe Julio's gone 4-0 with a 1.04 ERA, 23 strikeouts and 26 innings pitched with just 2 walks. And then he hasn't lost a game or been charged with the loss since June 12th. Since then, he's been 8-0 with a 2.28 ERA and a .90 whip. He's been that guy for the Dodgers. He's been giving them length. He's been getting stronger as the season goes on. Tony Gonsolin has regressed slightly. Tyler Anderson's stayed pretty strong. And then, as we know, Clayton Kershaw's been hurt in the Dodgers. Andrew Heaney's been on and off, and the Dodgers have gone different ways. But Julio's been that constant in the Dodgers rotation the entire season. And now it's a question of, with the way he's been going, with the way things are going, is Julio now the ace? Now, everyone can define ace a different way, but ace for this season, ace for kind of what the conversation we're having right here is when the Dodgers start a playoff game or when the Dodgers start a playoff series, is Julio going game 1? And I think you have to say yes right now. Obviously, right now it's a lot easier to say yes because it's between him and Gonsolin and Tyler Anderson. And Julio's already been a guy that has done well in the postseason and would be able to handle it. Now the question becomes a little more muddy if Clayton Kershaw comes back and he's healthy and ready to go. The question becomes a little more muddy if Walker Buehler gets right and is back before the end of the season and is stretched out enough to be a starter. But I think right now, as it sits, I think Julio's going game one, regardless if Kershaw comes back and is healthy. I still think Julio gets the nod over him. And Walker Buehler, that's asking for a lot from Buehler. So, in that scenario, if Buehler came back, made at least 1 to 2 starts, and was stretched out enough to go over 85 pitches, then maybe you still give Buehler the nod, but also you don't know entirely what you're getting. And with Julio, you know what you're getting at this point. So I say, as of just for this season right now, obviously things could change in the future seasons, but for this season right now, I think you got to give Julio the ball game one of any playoff series. And, you just heard me read off the numbers of what he's been. And, if you look over the entire season, he's 12-6, 2.49 ERA, 122 innings, 117 strikeouts, 0.97 whip. But obviously has gotten stronger as the season's gone on. We've seen his velocity tick up as the season's gone on, and he's become a guy that the Dodgers can count on every fifth day to give them 6+ innings. And as of recently, more so like 7 innings, usually more efficiently. There's been times where he's been pulled maybe a little bit earlier than he needs to be. But at this point, with the way the Dodgers have the division in hand and everything else, it's a matter of stealing some innings, getting him some rest where they can, and not worrying about letting him go as deep as he can, letting him go as deep as he needs to. If the game's in hand, handing it over to the bullpen and being ready for October. And it's one of those I've seen a lot of stuff on social media, especially after yesterday's game of, is Julio one of the more underrated pitchers in baseball? And yeah, I do think so. He gets, realistically coming into the season, he's probably third in terms of popularity and or praise from the Dodgers. Walker Buehler, Clayton Kershaw come ahead of him in that round, even though he's pitched better than Kershaw to a certain extent and been healthier the last couple seasons. But either way, I don't think he minds that. But now in general, we saw Julio not get the call for the All-Star game. And, on any given night, he's throwing 7 innings, 7 shutout innings, 7 innings, 1 run, whatever it is. And you don't see him getting that national praise, national attention that he deserves. And, I don't know if it bothers him. I don't think it really matters to him per se. I would imagine, I believe he's a Boris client, so that might matter to them. They want him to get more exposure and get his name out there as he approaches free agency in a year or a year or two, whatever it is. But for him, I doubt it matters. For the Dodgers, definitely doesn't matter how much, if he's underrated, overrated, or not, as long as he's pitching well. And Julio's been that guy. And it's interesting because, we've known Julio's, or some of us have known Julio's name since he was signed out of Mexico. Famously signed on the same trip where the Dodgers signed Yasiel Puig. And he's kind of been that. It's one of those where he had that praise from the beginning, like this is the next Fernando, or this is, the next lefty pitcher for the Dodgers, the next lefty ace for the Dodgers. And it's been a rocky road to get here, but he's here. I mean, some could say he's been here, but this is, maybe the final stamp of, okay, Julio's an ace. Julio lived up to his billing. And it's funny because of the injury that took him out a year, because of the way that he had to ramp back up, the way he got the praise in 2020 for closing out the Dodgers in the NLCS and the World Series. He had a good year last year, 20-game winner, but it's been interesting because he's gotten the praise from Dodger fans, but not necessarily the outside media. And for a guy who was as highly touted as he was, for him to kind of get lost in the shuffle is interesting. But like I said, I don't think it matters to him too much, and it definitely doesn't matter to the Dodgers. And he's definitely the game one starter for the Dodgers as of now, especially if he continues to, keep that velocity where it's at and continue to pitch well the rest of the season. You can slot in Kershaw and everyone else behind him. If Walker Buehler does make it all the way back, then you figure things out. But I think Julio is my number one starter as of now for any playoff series. And I'm looking forward to seeing him continue to thrive into the postseason and show what he can do in the postseason. So, yeah, Julio, Dodgers ace currently. That doesn't mean he's a Dodgers ace for sure, like moving forward. Walker Buehler still kind of holds that title moving forward. But for this season, Julio is the ace. Julio is your number one starter, and he deserves all the praise that he's been getting from Dodger fans, and maybe a little bit more praise from everybody else. Max Muncie has been hot in August, and is it sustainable? We're going to find out after we talk about liver health. Liver health formula by Pure Health Research. Did you know the key to sustainable weight loss is through your liver? The liver is the body's metabolic furnace. It's responsible for flushing out harmful toxins and igniting your fat burning metabolism. But thanks to modern diets rich in unhealthy processed foods and constant exposure to thousands of man made environmental toxins, most of us has overworked livers. But now it's easy to rejuvenate your liver health and reignite your metabolism thanks to Liver Health Formula by Pure Health Research. Liver Health Formula contains 8 liver boosting super nutrients like turmeric, beet, and artichoke extract that all work together to wake up a sluggish liver. No more feeling tired and low on energy all the time. No more uncomfortable digestion. No more bloated belly. And best of all, Liver Health Formula makes it easier to maintain a healthy body weight long term. As a listener of our show, you can try Liver Health Formula risk-free today and get a free bottle of Curve Fit with your order. Curve Fit is a safe and all-natural appetite suppressant, making it easy to say no to naughty foods. This makes it the perfect complement to Liver Health Formula. Go to getliverhelp.com/MLB to learn more. That's getliverhelp.com/MLB to try Liver Health Formula completely risk-free and claim your free bottle of Curb Fit with your order. Go to getliverhelp.com/MLB now to get started. All right, we're back. And the Dodgers offense put up 10 runs last night, double-digit runs, always fun to see. And it kind of got going with Max Muncie. Max Muncie hit his 12th homer this season last night. It was a solo shot, but finished the game with a pair of hits. He's now on a 6-game hitting streak and hitting .391 in the month of August. And it's starting to beg the question, is Max Muncie back? I've seen some people on social media deem him back already. I'm not that confident to say that he's back, but he's definitely hot right now, and this is something we haven't seen this season. So that's what's giving me hope that Max Muncie is back. And we've talked about all year how at this point Max Muncy just has to focus on the rest of the season. He can't really focus on trying to fix his numbers and trying to, you know, basically look better on the back of a baseball card down the line. He's kind of, at this point, 2022 is a sunken season, but it doesn't have to be a sunken complete season. It's just a matter of over the course of the season, you look back, his numbers won't be great. But if he can be great these next 2 months and into October, then all of that won't matter. And what we've seen from Max Muncy is the ability to drive the ball over the wall, hitting home runs, the ability to hit the ball hard, and a little bit of luck going his way. And for a guy like Muncy, I think, we can see him of all the Dodgers, he's one of the ones that wears his emotions out there, puts his emotions out there a little bit more than others. And, he's had some bad luck this season, whether it's bad calls at the plate, whether it's hitting the ball hard and some bad luck, whether it's just finding a hole, but the hole ends up closing faster than you think. Whatever the case is, we've seen Max Muncy have some bad luck. He also hasn't been that good this season in terms of, based on what we've seen from him in the past. Wasn't hitting the ball as hard, was chasing a little bit more, especially after coming back from injury, chasing a little bit more, not walking as much, you know, doing things a little bit out of character in order to find himself, which is fine. But now we're starting to see the Max Muncy that we know and love, which is a guy that can be a force in any lineup, usually in the middle of the lineup. But the Dodgers don't need him to be a force in the middle of the lineup at this point. They just need him to be a force at any point in the lineup. And that's what he's doing. And it's fun to watch. I mean, we saw he's been hitting the ball hard. He's been hitting home runs. He's been doing a lot. And we're starting to see him get back. Whether it's, he's got his barrel percentage up into the 93rd percentile. He's been able to, really do some work over here in the rest of the season. And it's been fun to watch. And for a guy like Muncy, who, is a guy who's built on power and built on getting on base. And for him, like I said, we had seen some of his stuff go down. We had seen his on base numbers take a little bit of a hit as he tried to figure this out. But now we're starting to see, what he can do. He can do damage, and I think everyone has kind of talked about the injury to his elbow and how that could have been a reason his power was sapped. And based on what it's been the last since August, it's August 10th right now as you guys are listening to this. Based on what we've seen then, and even a couple weeks before that, maybe it was just he needed some time to get fully healthy. Maybe his elbow was still bothering him, but he wasn't saying anything, and it got to a point where we weren't sure if Max Muncie was going to be on the postseason roster. We talked about it on this here podcast. We weren't sure. You couldn't guarantee Max Muncie being on the postseason roster, especially after the Dodgers had traded for Joey Gallo. If Joey Gallo had been hot or figured things out with the Dodgers, Max Muncie didn't. You could see a world where Joey Gallo's the Dodgers starting DH in the postseason, and Max Muncie's either coming off the bench or possibly not even on the postseason roster if he had continued to trend downwards. And now we're looking at Max Muncie being that guy again, and with Justin Turner back, Max Muncie, realistically, the DH role is going to be a role where he can play a little bit more. I'm sure Justin Turner will need a little bit more days off here and there so he can play third base. If Gavin Lux has a seat, he can play second base. But for the most part, Max Muncie's bat is going to get him into the lineup, and more than likely that's going to be at DH. So, for Muncie, it's been a season, and we've seen him show his frustrations in interviews and on the field and everything else. And now he looks a lot more comfortable. He looks a lot more at peace. He looks happy. And obviously that's coming with the results, but it's also for him, a guy who's probably been working all season, a guy that, doesn't want to see himself struggle, doesn't want to see himself be, the guy that he's been this season. And now he's showing that, hey, you know what, I can be good again. And it's been a joy to watch. And you look at his entire season, and you look at average through the entire season, and in April 136, in May 164, June his best month so far, he hit 197, July 147, and right now August 391, and an OPS over 1,000. And he's already hit as many home runs in the month of August as he has in any month so far this season. He's already driven in more runs in the month of August than he has in any month this season. Oh, not as many runs. I was looking at the wrong month, but he's already driven in 7 runs this month. His high for the season has been July when he drove in 11. So if he drives in 5 more runs in the remaining days of August, he'll pass that up. He's already hit, if he hits one more double, he's hit as many doubles as he has in any month of the season. He has 9 hits. His highest hit total in a month is the month of June, where he's had 13 hits. So 4 more hits the entire month, and he's already had his best month hit-wise. So everywhere you look, he's been better, and he's cut down on his strikeouts. He's still striking out at a high clip, higher than maybe we expect him to be. But he's also been able to be a lot better. And the other part too is the drop in the lineup. We've seen him bat, as low as he might have batted ninth one game. We've seen him definitely bat as low as eighth. He's kind of been settling into that 6th hole lately, and he's had the most success there in terms of hitting. 5th and 6th has been a sweet spot in terms of slugging and hitting. That's kind of where he's been lately. So, yeah, for the Dodgers to win in October, they have enough without Max Muncy contributing. They have more than enough with Max Muncy contributing. And it just makes you think, I tweeted last night, can it be October already? Because it seems like everybody's in a good spot right now. Just about Cody Bellinger's been hitting, Max Muncie's been hitting, Mookie, Trey, Freddie continue to hit. Will Smith's been hitting. The Dodgers have been in a row. Gavin Lux as well. And the Dodgers have won these 9 games in a row. And I think all 9 games in a row have been by multiple runs, or at least 7 of them have been by multiple runs. So they're not just winning, they're putting up runs and winning good. They're pitching well, they're hitting well, they're playing defense. They're in a good spot. And yeah, if Max Muncy can keep this going for the rest of the season, the Dodgers could, assuming everyone else stays what they've been doing, the Dodgers could threaten for the most wins in franchise history and maybe even flirt with most wins ever, although that's a little bit harder to do. But either way, the Dodgers have been good. Max Muncy has been good, and it's been fun to watch. Up next, just a couple notes from around things, whether it's injury, whether it's rehab assignments, everything else. But first, BlueNile.com, they are there for you, whether you're ready to pop the question or you're celebrating a milestone moment. You can find jewelry as unique as her with the modern convenience of online shopping at BlueNile.com. You can build the engagement ring of your dreams with simple online tools that let you choose diamond shape, size, clarity, as well as setting style. Or if you're looking to celebrate life special moments with fine jewelry, they can help you find that too. And they have jewelry experts on hand 24/7 to help you out, available via phone or chat to help you find a memorable gift at every budget. So make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. And going on now is the Blue Nile anniversary sale. Save up to 40% on classic fine jewelry pieces and 25% on engagement ring settings. Remember, every order is insured, ships free, and arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. Shop stress free and find your favorite piece. Go to BlueNile.com today. All right, like I mentioned, some news and notes. Justin Turner returned to the lineup in the DH role. He had a couple hits, including a double and an RBI. He's on his way to racking up 30 doubles for the first time since 2018. He's done so 3 times as a Dodger. So, regardless of the season he's having, he's had a strong season so far. With the return of Justin Turner, Miguel Vargas was optioned down. I thought when he came up, they were going to give him the lion's share of at bats, or at least get him in there more often than not. That wasn't the case. I don't know if that was sparked by Max Muncy, resurgence and him basically playing third base every day since Justin Turner was out, or whether they just wanted to Vargas to come up and see major league pitching. Whatever the case, if he comes up again, I'll be excited about it. If he doesn't, I'll be looking forward to seeing what he does in the future. But yeah, Miguel Vargas not up. Justin Turner is up, like I mentioned, in that lineup. Dave Roberts said that he will get some time, at DH. He will get some time at third base, and we'll get some days off here and there. So that's where we're at on that. The other part is Dustin May made his. Some people may think his last rehab assignment. Some people may think take Dave Roberts' word at face value and think that he has one more. He went 5 innings on 68 pitches, struck out 8, allowed 1 run, 3 hits, no walks, if I'm not mistaken. It looks like he's ready to go. 68 pitches, which means his pitch count was maybe around 75, and maybe that's why they just cut him off at the 5 clean innings. So that means his pitch count probably 75, 80 for his next start. That's something the Dodgers can handle. That's something the Dodgers can take. And with his start being today, and the Kershaw absence being, or with his start being last night, the Kershaw absence in the rotation being today, Ryan Pepio is expected to make the start tonight. Um, but you could conceivably see them calling up Dustin May to make the next start in that rotation instead of Ryan Pepio. So we'll see what happens there. But, I've been excited about seeing Dustin May out there again. And if he can come back healthy and he is stretched out to be a starter, he definitely finds his way into the postseason rotation, regardless of, kind of this, unfortunately, regardless of the success maybe some others have had this season. You get, if they get Kershaw back healthy, a rotation of Julio, Kershaw, May, and then Gonsolin Anderson in the final spot. is pretty tough. And that's why I think Walker Buehler is going to come back in a relief role, because based on timing, and just because realistically he can help the Dodgers a little bit more in that sense than he could necessarily trying to rush back and get into the rotation. I think he can take his time, build out to 2 innings, 20, 25 pitches, and help the Dodgers in that role. And, obviously we're going to have to see May against Major League Pitching. We're going to have to see if May, if his arm holds up and everything else. And, I don't know what the Dodgers' exact plan is for him. I would imagine it's going to be one where he's basically going to be capped at around 5 innings every time he goes out there. And, just in order to preserve the arm a little bit, especially if he's going to make starts throughout the rest of the season. So I don't know. We don't know the exact plan for May. I can see him being a guy who's capped out at 5 innings and starts. I can see the Dodgers maybe going to a 6-man rotation at some point just to save everybody's arm, especially with the lead that they have and everything else. So, yeah, that remains to be seen. But I'm excited to see Dustin May on the mound for the Dodgers again because I'm a big fan of Dustin May. Other than that, we haven't heard too much about Yancy Almonte's injury. We'll see what happens there. Andre Jackson has yet to pitch, so I would imagine he goes down for Ryan Pepio. Let's talk about Ryan Pepio real quick, because even though I just said that he could go back down after this start in order for Dustin May to come back up, the Dodgers could also say, hey, we want to see Pepio again, and we want to have May in a controlled environment again, and give Pepio 2 times through a rotation. A lot of people have said Ryan Pepio is going to play a role for the Dodgers down the stretch. It's very possible, but right now the rotation is almost as healthy as it's been, minus Kershaw. You got Heaney back in there. He's made a few starts. You got Anderson, you got Gonsolin, you got Julio. That 5th spot's open for now. Dustin May's coming for it. Like I said, if the Dodgers go to 6-man, then yeah, we'll see a lot more Ryan Pepio. But if not, I don't imagine we're going to see too much of him. And the thing is, kind of like you kind of want to see what Ryan Pepio can do, because you saw, his last start with the Dodgers was his best start in the major leagues. And you know, even with everything that's whatever, even with everything that's going on in terms of the Dodgers are healthy right now, Ryan Pepio's made 4 starts and he's sporting a 2.76 ERA in the major leagues. Now, in those 4 starts, he's only thrown 16 and a third innings, and he's walked 12 guys in those 16 and a third innings, but he's also struck out 19 in those 16 and a third. And it's one of those where with the way the Dodgers are up, you kind of want to see what he can do. And it's also a matter of, the health is going to be the big part of it for the Dodgers. And it's a matter of, do they try Ryan Pepio in a relief role? Do they try something different just in case they need him? The Dodgers are supposed to get back Trinan and Gratterall here in the next few weeks, but you always want to have as many different iterations and roles and everything else as you can. We saw, I think, the Dodgers trying out Buehler in a relief role early in his career just to see if he'd be able to fix it. And I still think he probably should have been on the 2017 roster over what was it, McCarthy, Brandon McCarthy. Still think he should have been on the roster over him, but regardless of that, yeah, I don't know. Ryan Pepio, he's a guy that has been highly touted. He's a guy that they kept, didn't make any trades, and he's a guy that I don't know if the Dodgers are gonna. It's gonna be health dependent on everyone else to see if the Dodgers can find a role for him, or maybe if he can contribute in October. As of right now, I don't see it because I'm assuming health for everybody that's already healthy, and I'm assuming Trinan, Gratterall coming back. I'm assuming Yancy Almonte comes back. I'm assuming Kershaw comes back. And then holding out hope for Walker Buehler coming back in a relief role later in the year. So there might not be room for Ryan Pepio, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see him get a couple starts and then a couple times in a relief role just to see what he's got. But that remains to be seen. That's all we got. That's all I got. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day every day. We'll be back tomorrow to talk about the Dodgers' win over the Twins. And just start by Ryan Pepio. So if you need something else to check out Locked On MLB, the number one daily league-wide podcast. Find Locked On MLB on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get podcasts. You can find us on social media, Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Dodgers. Jeff is on Twitter at Snider. I'm at Samperio. If you want to call and leave us a voicemail or send us a text, you can do so at 323-863-5625. Or you can send us an email, lockedondodgers@gmail.com. We're here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be with us. When you get in your car, or if you're at home, tell your smart device play podcast, Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.